This comes from Jay, who writes, I'm looking to build a 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath house in the Catskills, Zone 6. Currently searching for land near Kingston, New York. My construction budget, excluding site work, clearing septic well, electric hookup, is around $550,000. I'd like this to be passive house, certified or not, or close to it. I have no DIY shop, so I would have to have this fully contracted. Going the bespoke local contractor route seems pretty cost prohibitive. I've been getting quoted around $400 to $600 a square foot plus site work, design fees, etc., without even broaching the subject of passive house certification. I have found a local builder who might work cost wise, starting at $280 a square foot, but I'm not sold on their ability to deliver a super tight and efficient house, though they do include an HRV as part of their standard package. So I'm thinking of going the prefab route, using a standard design from an established firm. The contenders I found so far are Ecocor. They make passive houses. I think they're within my budget if I stick to one of their Solskin designs. I've also looked at Unity, a subsidiary of Bensonwood. Their projects are not passive, but I think they would fit the pretty good house criteria. Some of their designs do have a lot of thermal bridges, I've observed. I've also looked at Go Home, which also offers passive houses. I think the process with any of these companies would be similar. They would deliver a shell, put some or all of it together, and then hand off the rest of the work to a local contractor. I haven't had great success getting replies from any of these companies. Unity has followed up once at least, which is a bit concerning, but perhaps it is just summer or remote work slowness. I have some questions. Does anyone have experience with any of these companies? They all seem reputable, but hearing any sort of comparison of the build process, quality, etc., would be really helpful. Are there any other similar companies that service New York State that are worth checking out? I found a couple others that are pricier, but the rest I found are far enough away that it probably wouldn't make sense, but I'd be interested to hear about other options. If finding a local builder seems like something I should pursue further, does anyone have good leads or ways to find builders or designers who would be able to deliver what I'm looking for? Are there any resources, forums, etc., you'd recommend to learn more about this? Any other advice, including your expectations are unrealistic, would also be welcomed. So I guess the question is, how do you find an affordable way to do a high performance build? Is it a local builder, or is it one of these companies that offer off-site construction that is delivered to your project, and then the finished assembly is handled by a local firm?
First of all, I just, not that, I don't think that it's our job and we're in the business, and it would even be smart to endorse or not endorse specific builders or specific, you know, modular companies, because, there's always things that could go wrong. If you could buy modular components, from a great company and have a poor builder who makes mistakes on site and not putting the thing together. So that's a little bit risky, but I can say that those are three good companies that he mentioned from what I know. We've worked with all of them in different ways. And I think they're all good companies that know what they're doing. So I wouldn't have any concerns about working with them if you can make the price right and if you felt good with the local builder that you found to do what needs to happen on site. When it comes to, but I think the bigger question here is, how do you do this? How do you get started? You have a budget, and you have ideas of what you want. I think the first thing that I would ask is, like, why do you want a passive house or something close to a passive house? What is it about that is important to you? Is it because there's lots of aspects to it, and arguably they're all important, but instead of just jumping right to a standard, are you interested in great energy efficiency? Do you want to save money on your energy bills? Are you looking for health, or like a really healthy home with great indoor air quality, a really durable home, a really comfortable home? Like, what are the things that are actually important to you? Because when you talk to professionals who maybe aren't familiar with high performance building, maybe they're not familiar with the passive house standard, that might actually scare them off a little bit. But if you talk to them about these qualities of a home, they might say, oh yeah, here's how we deal with, indoor air quality. Here's how we make our houses, energy efficient. Here's what we've achieved in the past when it comes to these types of characteristics or qualities of a good house. So I would think more about the goals for the house and what's important to you um, than than meeting a standard necessarily, unless you find someone who and there's someone not far away from Kingston, New York, named Josh Edmonds, Simple Integrity Builders, who's a passive house builder. Maybe you could reach out to him. I also think he does excellent work. So if you found someone who works with the passive house program, great. But if you're not finding someone who works with the passive house program, to sort of ask them to build a passive house, that might not go well. Just the language of it and the understanding of the program might sort of cause the builder or the designer to have their own concerns. So maybe that's not the place to start. And then the other thing that comes to mind is, if you have a budget, start with your budget. So you could go to a designer who you trust, who has a good reputation, whose work you like, who knows how to do high performance, and say, this is my budget. What can we do with my budget? I need 3 bedrooms. I need 2.5 baths. But like, so what can we do with this budget and get that and achieve maybe some of these things, and start there. Because one of the things that doesn't come up in this letter is level of finish. Is he looking for natural, select cedar siding, or is he okay with vinyl siding? There's big differences. So, start with the budget and see what is possible to achieve within your budget, based on starting with small expectations, or just the most important expectations. Like I said, if you have a family, maybe you do need a certain number of bedrooms and bathrooms. If you work from home, maybe a home office is a non-negotiable. So what are the things you definitely need in the house? What's your budget? And see what's possible. Um, that is probably a more helpful way to work than to say, this is what I want. What are your estimates? Well, those estimates are going to be high, and they should be high, likely, if there's not more information, and if it's not more specific than that. So, like I said, a lot in this question that we could dive into, but those are sort of my thoughts for like how I would, if I was going to approach a project like this, and was going to be relying on professionals for everything, not doing any of it myself. That's how I would engage them.
How about you, Mike?
I agree. I think both of Brian's points, either find a builder who is already building that type of house, so that they're not going to have to go through the learning curve, and they're going to probably know, this is basically what we can do for this much money. Or a designer who, and a lot of designers, architects, focus on passive house or near to passive house at higher performance. So those folks would also have a sense of what the costs are going to be. If you talk to an architect who doesn't have that sense, they're not going to know what the possibilities are. And going the designer route, a lot of designers know builders who would build the houses that they previously designed. New York has a fairly active passive house group, the New York Passive House. They'd be another route to finding somebody. And then, of course, there's NYSERDA, which is a state group, they have builders and designers that they work with that they could probably refer you to. They probably have a network. So a lot of ways of getting that more information, so you can zero in on aligning your budget with what it is your goals are, as Brian pointed out.
I would say, if you're having trouble finding people to build the house that you want for the budget you want, you're either building too big a house, too complicated a house, or you're expecting folks to make it to a performance level that they would find outside the ordinary, and therefore are going to charge more to build it. So yeah, I think simple forms, simple details, simple finishes, that is going to be how you build your house for the dollar amounts you're talking about. And I would say any custom home is going to be $300 a square foot, from everything I've heard in the last few years. So that's a starting point. And then 500-600 a square foot seems like reasonable to me for something that's going to be either high-end finishes or outside the norm with construction details.